All right, what up though, y'all? Happy Tuesday to you. Normally we do this on a Friday. This is actually a makeup show from like last summer. I'm finally catching up on some stuff, so y'all gotta bear with me. I'm actually probably had like 3 or 4 lives this month. 'Cause I'm trying to play catch up and do better with my streaming. But what up though Tuesday to you on a what up though Friday on a Tuesday, I should say. But today's topic is Section 8 tariffs and more. And the more gonna be whatever we talk about or whatever y'all ask me in regards to investing in Detroit. So thank y'all for tuning in. You see me on the news. If you saw me on the news, please send it to me because I can't find the clip nowhere from when they interviewed me at the auto show because they were streaming live on their YouTube channel, but you only can go back so many hours, so I couldn't find it. So if you see me on the news, please send it to your girl. I appreciate it. So first we're gonna get into tariffs. Cause a lot of people been asking me about tariffs and how it's gonna affect stuff. It helps and it don't. You know, I got mixed views on it. From a contractor's perspective, tariffs, it don't really affect me per se because the cost is gonna be put onto, the client. So basically y'all gonna pay the tariff before I would, but I guess I pay it too because now all my prices are gonna get higher, especially heating and cooling prices have been crazy probably about the last year. Like furnaces is higher, hot water tanks is higher, just sheet metal is higher, all that stuff is higher because a lot of this stuff either is imported for wherever it is, then it come here, then they put their tax on it, then the contractor gonna put their tax on stuff. So that's how I go. But it's all the game. From a contractor perspective, it ain't really gonna affect me. It's gonna affect more of the investor or the homeowner slash client more than anything. The only way it kind of has affected me, I'll say, is with some of these contracts I got with these different energy efficiency programs. Like they have set numbers to where this is all they gonna pay, and a lot of them I have to turn down because there's just no money in it. If they only paying, let's say 4,000 for a whole new furnace with permit, new ductwork, and everything, your licensed HVAC sub, he more than likely gonna be between 4 and 6,000, especially for a high efficiency furnace because that costs more, and especially for those certain brands when you get into the rings, uh, what's the other one start with a C, Carrier or something like that, like those higher end brands, they're going to cost more, especially with the warranties. So if my contractor coming in at 4 to 6,000, it ain't no money for me to be made if they only paying 4,000. So a lot of stuff I have to say no to, but I have been getting emails to where they're starting to come around to like, okay, we do got to up this budget some because I'm not the only one who telling y'all no. I don't have a problem telling these programs no because at the end of the day, I have an engineering degree, and if it get that bad, I'll go back and get me a job and make 140 or more sitting behind a desk or out on the highway being an inspector. So to me, it's like yay or nay. But that's one thing I can say is probably has affected me in that way because I probably could get more energy contracts. The only way that a lower amount like that would work for a GC like me or anybody is they have to give me volume pricing, because if they give you volume pricing for these hot water tanks and these furnaces, then me and my sub can go to their supplier like, hey, here's my contract with insert utility company here or firm, and then they guaranteed me 100 furnaces and 100 hot water tanks. Can you help me get this price down? Now if you come in with maybe even 10, maybe not even 100, but if they can see the contract, then I can buy increments of 10. They give me better pricing, and then that can help keep the cost down too. The only downside of that is some of these Detroit houses is not a one size fit all furnace, so it just depends. Like probably all your standard bungalows will probably be the same, but that's my whole point. But you can't put the size furnace that you would put in a bungalow that you would in a colonial, because it goes by the square footage. And some of these furnaces in these houses are too damn big. Some people got the wrong size furnace, and they're either it's too big or it's too small. So I've noticed that too, especially with central air units too. But I'm gonna let this video play. I found this on YouTube real quick, basically explaining how tariffs work, and then we'll go from there.
U.S. manufacturers make cars for $100, and they are selling briskly here at home. But the Chinese enter the market. They set their prices at $75. U.S. cars don't sell as well. The government decides to help the U.S. car makers, and they slap an 100% tariff on Chinese car imports. The companies that do the importing pay the tariff to the government. They typically raise the price of their products to cover it. Now, cars from China cost $150. Consumers flock back to U.S.-made cars, and all is good again. China may even open plants to build cars in the U.S., adding U.S. jobs to avoid the tax. But China likely retaliates and slaps tariffs on U.S. goods, making them more expensive overseas and hurting U.S. exports in different industries. Increased demand for U.S. cars and a lack of competition from other manufacturers may motivate U.S. car makers to raise their prices too. The market becomes less efficient and innovative.
All right, so that's that one. And
if you do, absolutely.
I wanted to watch too. So that's kind of like a quick summary on tariffs and what they are or are not, I should say. Another thing I'll say about tariffs and stuff is I guess it can affect the consumer as well, because you on the other end of this paying the inflated price for the construction work to be done. That's any, if not a lot of construction materials. Now, one way I can say tariffs are probably helping the U.S., I've been reading and I've seen a couple of videos saying that if this works to Trump's plan, that the tariffs might replace income tax to where us American citizens won't be income taxed anymore. And then I seen some other stuff saying that these other countries been putting tariffs on us for X amount of years at this amount of price, and this is the first time that America has, I guess, enforced it on our end. So to where basically everybody been getting over on America for however many decades or years or so forth, and this is the first time a president has really like put their foot down. So from a business standpoint, I see both sides. We've been paying tariffs. I guess we just ain't been paying it to this extent to where we really starting to notice it. Maybe that's the issue some people have. If it is the latter, to where it's going to help benefit us as Americans, to where we're not paying income taxes or income this tax here, I kind of might be for it, but the jury's out on that. All right, this is another one with the commercial play. Then we'll let this play. So this one is talking about the new tariffs that he just had at his what's it called, the state of the country or whatever, like how we had the state of the city. I didn't watch it. I might pull it up one day and we watch it together, and then I could take notes and kind of see from that. Oh, it is Women in Construction Week. Thank you, and shout out to the other ladies in construction too. I'm gonna have to post myself. All right, we're gonna skip that.
Wants to impose a 10% global tariff on America's trading partners after the Supreme Court ruled most of his previous levies have been illegal. Trump said the 6-3 ruling left him, quote, deeply disappointed, and accused the Supreme Court of being, quote, swayed by foreign interests. The U.S. president vowed to deploy new methods to impose tariffs, including a sweeping new duty on all foreign trading partners. Here's President Trump giving his reaction at a news conference.
Foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years are ecstatic. They're so happy. And they're dancing in the streets, but they won't be dancing for long, that I can assure you. But other alternatives will now be used to replace the ones that the court incorrectly rejected. We have alternatives.
Joining me in the studio now is Stephen Beardsley from DW Business. Thanks for joining us. So the Supreme Court has decided that his tariffs were illegal, and now he's responded with this 10% global tariff. How long will that last?
I think that's exactly the question that everyone's wondering. The Trump administration has a number of levers that it can pull, and it's made no bones about this in the past few months. And it said that if this ruling takes place, as it did take place, we have other mechanisms. The question really is, what is their legality? How would they actually fare before the courts? And what often ends up happening with a lot of Trump legislation, or a lot of his executive maneuvers, I should say, is that they do end up going before courts, and then they're challenged at some point later. Sometimes they're even pushed back. This was a remarkable ruling, and how he's responded so far with this 10% base tariffs, that's under a different section of law that actually requires, it allows tariffs up to 15% base, but then Congress has to act after 150 days. That's problematic because Trump, for one, has said that he doesn't want Congress to have any part of his tariff regimes. And also, Congress probably doesn't want to decide on this as well. They have midterm elections coming up, and this is a vulnerable point for them. We know that affordability, the issue of cost in the U.S., is a major point for voters right now. They don't want to have to go and defend raising taxes on consumer goods, and that's ultimately what they would have to end up doing. But again, this 10%, this mechanism that he's using right now, this law is actually probably as vulnerable than the one that's just been struck down. So in many ways, it seems like it would be a matter of time before that would be challenged as well.
And so there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and I'm curious how international markets are responding so far. Have there been specific countries that said anything?
Okay, so quick summary for what I'm getting from this. So instead of it being, I guess, 6 months or more for the tariffs, or up to a year, now it's limited to 150 days. So 369, 120. That's like 5 months roughly. So I guess that's a good thing. I'm not really sure. So we're going to learn together.
I think everyone's reacting with caution right now because they do know that there are these levers. We haven't seen any sort of bold statements, nor did we expect any, because they know that this is an administration that will pull out every mechanism in the book until it is tested in the courts. That's the only reason there was pushback on this one, was because ultimately it was tested by an American company, we should point out. These were not foreigners who were paying these import levies. They were American importers in most cases, and American consumers who were paying for it at the end of the day when they were passed on. That's important to point out because this is an administration that keeps saying that foreigners are ultimately footing the bill for this. They are not. It is Americans. It's a tax on Americans. But ultimately, at the end of the day, markets are going to try and figure out what the vulnerable sections of certain businesses are that are going to be hit by this. Because with this 10% broader tariff, that sort of changes the landscape a little bit. There's some countries that are going to be advantaged because of that. There's some that are going to be disadvantaged. And so some companies may be exposed to new trade routes because of this, and the markets are going to try and suss that out. But you're not going to see any countries probably come out and start, thundering about wanting their money back or something.
Okay, so this sounds messy, but I understand it gets even messier because there's the question of reimbursements for those companies who've already paid the tariffs. Unwinding that feels like it would be a headache.
Right now, we know there are about 1,800 companies that have litigation before U.S. trade courts about tariffs that they feel like were unduly levied. Now they're going to be clamoring for that money in many cases. The question is, who has the record of how much was paid and who is ultimately due that money? So U.S. Customs collects it. Did they have records of it? Do the companies themselves have records of every single import shipment that they brought in?
Hold up. So I'm going to have to go watch that State of the Union now, or whatever it's called, because he's saying that the new ruling is they talking about refunding some of these tariff payments. So I wonder, is that on the American side or to the people that we exporting to, or the people who importing? Yeah, because we would be importing, but some of us export too. So that's interesting. Continue.
And the tariffs that were levied on that. Another problem is that studies have shown that anywhere between 60 and 90% of the tariffs imposed, those were passed on to customers, but only under the law.
Customers, how are they going to get that money
How are they
back,
going
right?
to get that? That's a responsibility of the business itself, because under the law, only the importers are obligated to receive the reimbursement. Will they pass that on to customers? Some, DHL, for example, has already come out and said, we have the technology to show exactly what customer has paid what. We're going to reimburse them. Will other customers be able to say that? On top of that, there's one more issue, is that some importers have sold the right to collect their reimbursements to third parties, which then may go before the courts and say, we actually have the obligation to receive this. It's very confusing, and this is going to be a muddle because the Supreme Court said, essentially, you're owed this money, but it didn't lay out how that process was supposed to happen.
Now, Stephen, very quickly, Trump premised the whole rollout of tariffs saying that this would benefit America and American consumers. Where do things stand on that?
there's no evidence that it's benefited anyone except for the government revenues themselves. The government's made a lot of money on tariffs. It's interesting because it's not the government, it's not Congress that decided that, but it's the president who's basically created his own carve-out for collecting a ton of money, up to $200 billion, that now the majority of that is due back to businesses. But we've seen prices go up. We've seen inflation go up. We've seen that there's economic activity that hasn't happened because of these. This is a tax on businesses, on American businesses and people, and that always has economic friction and economic consequences. It hasn't benefited Americans.
Stephen Beardsley, thank you very much.
This records conversations better than taking notes ever.
To know, like, I didn't know that they was considering giving refunds to
or seen any dancing in the street, and that's because it comes with a whole load of uncertainty. The official European Commission position so far is that they're just analysing this ruling and that they're trying to remain in touch with the US administration to work out what the consequences of it might be. When you talk to EU parliamentarians, they're a bit more outspoken. They say that they see this as kind of, in principle, as a good sign for the rule of law in the United States. Remember, this past almost a year since the US first announced the so-called reciprocal tariffs has been a pretty painful lesson for Europe and for the world in just how much power that presidential pen can hold in the United States. And this court decision is seen as a first real check and balance on that. But that's the principle. In practice, does this bring any more certainty for European businesses? Not really. And in fact, amid that uncertainty, because we know Donald Trump is coming up already with a plan B, the first response you'll see from the European Union side in Brussels is that a plan to improve the next steps of ratification of a trade deal which the European Union signed with the United States last July to avoid the pain of even higher tariffs. That vote was due to be held on Tuesday, and we're very likely to now see that delayed because officials and parliamentarians here just don't know exactly what the consequences of this Supreme Court ruling are going to be for that deal, which I should say was seen as a very bad deal for the European Union, lopsided at best in the United States' favor.
And despite the Supreme Court ruling, tariffs, for example, on steel and aluminum remain in place. So what does that mean for the European Union?
Well, all right, so steel and aluminum affects us a lot because that's cars. Aluminum for sure got to do with construction. You got what's aluminum? The trim around the windows. I think that's aluminum. You got aluminum and steel that deals with HVAC when it comes to your ductwork, so that's definitely going to affect us.
Well, precisely, and it's those sectoral tariffs that are really especially biting here in Europe. Things like the steel industry, we've seen a real dip over the past few months in steel exports from the European Union to the United States. And if you look at the biggest economies in the world, so the United States, China, the European Union as a bloc, if you look at their trade to GDP ratios, the European Union is higher than either the United States or China. That means more of the wealth of the European Union is linked to buying and selling internationally. And that means it's more exposed to things like export restrictions or sudden decisions out of the United States. So there's been a kind of a real rethink of how the EU should approach trade in general here as a response to this. And certainly those key industries, the likes of the steel industry, really calling out for more support from the European Union, given that they have seen, they've really felt the pain from these sectoral tariffs, which, as you said, are not in doubt in any way after this ruling.
The threat of tariffs has so far been a central instrument of Trump's foreign policy, for example, in the dispute over Greenland. Will dealing with him now become easier for the European Union because using tariffs as a weapon appears to be off the table, or Trump is being put on a tighter leash by the Supreme Court?
A tighter leash, perhaps. You might think this would even the playing field, but the EU's trade relations with the US have been really complicated by the fact that it relies on the US for things outside of trade. So actually, Brussels has quite a lot of muscle when it comes to trade policy. If it wants to, it could hit back hard with tariffs that could have a major implication for the United States. But because the EU is seen as relying on the US for the likes of its defense, and it's been so concerned about what would happen to the future security of Ukraine, for example, well, it's been pretty hesitant in terms of actually bringing that muscle to the table. And in fact, what we've seen the European Union do is really try to look at how can they find other customers to buy their wares, because the fact is that the damage has been done when it comes to the United States' reputation as a reliable trading partner. And over the last few months, what we've seen is Brussels go on something of a deal signing spree. They have dusted off trade deals that had been languishing in archives that were stalled for years, if not decades. And just a few weeks ago, I was in Paraguay. The EU signed a major trade deal with South America's Mercosur bloc. Since then, we've seen the European Union conclude negotiations on a free trade deal with India. Similarly, last year we saw a big trade deal signed off on, initially at least, with Indonesia. The strategy, therefore, of trying to replace those customers from the United States is well underway in the European Union. No Supreme Court decision is going to change that. Of course, those trade deals won't kick in overnight, and there has been some pushback to them. This is not an uncontroversial policy here in Europe. We've seen some protests, for example, from farmers. The policy, that principle won't change, but I think the fact is that businesses are still going to be suffering amid all this global uncertainty.
Got it. DW Brussels correspondent Rosie Burchard there.
So they saying that farmers gonna suffer too, I guess, because they gotta maybe get where they get their seeds from, or they fertilizer, or insert whatever farmers use. I didn't even think about that, so that's a good point. So now we're gonna switch over to the Section 8 portion of the show. So I know when all this stuff first happened, I think last summer when Trump announced that Section 8, some people was worried about Section 8 was going to get eradicated or something like that, or they changing the law. So I really don't have a problem with them forcing people who are on Section 8 assistance to work. Now, if you're a senior citizen, or if you're disabled and you're not able-bodied, okay, you should probably get the full benefit of Section 8. No problem with that. And this is me speaking as a Section 8 investor. I'm heavy on Section 8 investing in Detroit. The other side of that is you do have some people who abuse Section 8, and this has nothing to do with race, culture, or anything. It's just people overall abuse it. It ain't just us, like they try to make it seem on TV or whatever, because we actually on the lower percentage side of receiving Section 8 across, America. So I do think that they should force people to go to work, because and I think a lot of them is forcing people to go back to work because of all these jobs that people are not fulfilling. Like, it's a lot of jobs. Like, if you just need a regular everyday job, in retail or grocery or something that don't require a trade or a true skill, it's a lot of those jobs that's out here. And you got kids or the teenagers who not applying for these jobs anymore for whatever reason. And then you got the adults who not taking these jobs either. So that creates a issue as far as in workforce with people with customer service. And then on top of that, you got the ICE stuff with all the immigration and stuff like that. So that's probably a lot of those people's jobs too, is what I'm assuming. So that's creating more jobs. So from a business standpoint, they like, okay, we're going to force it to where if you are able-bodied, blah, 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 you got to come back to work and work so many hours. From that standpoint, I ain't really got no problem with it. From an investor standpoint, I do personally prefer Section 8 all day over regular paying tenant any day, because the government is paying me. The issue with that could be what portion is the government paying you compared to what the tenant is paying you. So, but majority of the rentals I manage and that I personally own, the government pays probably at least 70 to 90% of it, if not almost 100, because I have seniors that I manage for clients, veterans. A lot of them is 100% paid because they're disabled or they just up in age to where they just can't work no more because something might have happened way back when they was in insert war, and now they can't work no more because that pain is starting to catch up with them, so to speak, or whatever the accident was. And then you have the other side of that to where you got some tenants who might only pay $10 a month. those tenants, hey, just gonna give me 120 for the year, and you will not hear from me unless you reach out to me for a maintenance request, or hey, I got to get pest control in the house because I get the houses sprayed every 3 months, and that's my way of doing the inspection and stuff anyway, if that makes sense. So that's what I kind of see from the Section 8 side. I'm for Section 8. I have no problem with Section 8. I personally don't think they'll ever get rid of it. They might keep changing it or adding stuff to it or taking away from it, but I don't see them ever getting rid of it, because if they were to get rid of Section 8, it'd be a whole lot of people out here without a house. And I think that would do a lot of devastation, not just in Detroit, but probably nationwide, like overnight, if not in a couple of days. Because you're going to have a lot of people who won't be able to pay whatever that rent really costs if they got to pay the full, amount. Another thing I think they was talking about with the Section 8 new rules is that I think the person gets 2 years. Let me see if I can pull it up. I think they get 2 years. And then after that, either they got to renew or either they only get 2 years. I don't have a problem with that either. The only downside from the investor standpoint is going to be you're going to have a higher turnover rate. So that means you're going to have to go in there and paint and do whatever light rehab. Hopefully it's only a light rehab and they ain't tear your house up, over that time. But I'm going to see if I can find it. Current Section 8. And I go over this way more in detail in my Detroit investment course that I got. It's only $9.97. So y'all will be seeing the ads for that shortly. I got to record my ad videos, the second round, and we're going to go from there. So let's pull up Section 8 rules for Detroit. It should pop up. All right, so of course, if y'all didn't know, Section 8 in Detroit is managed by the DAC, which is the Detroit Housing Commission. However, there are other management firms who might have a contract with the DAC, and they'll manage it. Also, I don't think a lot of people know this. If you have a Section 8 voucher, if you a tenant, this on the tenant side, and on the investor side, if you have a Section 8 voucher from, let's say, the city of Southfield or Inkster, Romulus, Insert, you can use that voucher in Detroit. I honestly like those better because I've noticed that the smaller cities, they have their staff is nicer. I've learned that too. And they kind of get back to you in a way quicker fashion because they're a smaller, city or county or whatever compared to Wayne County / Detroit, to where that's a lot of people you're dealing with and a lot of vouchers. Now, as one Section 8 property I'm trying to get approved for the last couple months. This has probably been the worst one I've ever dealt with as far as the management firm. They are the worst. They take forever to get back to you. When they schedule an inspection, they want to tell you the day of or the day before, and the real world don't work like that. We have the dog system, which is door and window guard system, on all of our properties, either the ones I personally own or the ones I manage to keep y'all cousins out of there. And we have to schedule with dogs for them to come out and remove them. So they need at least a minimum 48-hour notice. Y'all want to wait till the morning of, like, yeah, we come today between 1 and 4. No, you're not, because just like you run a business, I do, and I can't do that last minute stuff. So that's one issue I'm currently having with one firm. The other issue I've run into, some of these Section 8 inspectors don't know what they talking about. They don't know nothing about no building code. They going off old building code. The building code can change every year, but county code trumps, I believe, or the city code trumps county and state. One of them trump the state. So the state does the basic code for the state, and then each county does the code, and then the city does the code. And I believe the city code trumps the county and state. I think that's how they go. So the current builder's book that's out right now is probably 2023. Is never current. So whatever the current residential builder's book is at least 3 or more years old. The last book I purchased was from 2015. That's 11 years ago. So I'll have to look up to see what the new book is. When I got licensed in 2012, our builder's book was from 2009. A lot of stuff I didn't find out was updated until I failed that said portion, because it depends on what city you in. Detroit might require one thing, Southfield might require one thing, Inkster might require one thing, Wyandotte and so forth, because their city code is going to trump your county and your state, if that makes sense. The other issue I ran into with these inspectors, They don't know code. They don't know plumbing code. Plumbing, HVAC, and electrical code, I believe they code change every single year, if not every other year. It's way more frequent than the builder's code. And a lot of the builder's code stuff you don't know until you get into that city and you fail something. Then I find out like, dang, I ain't know that. Thank you for telling me. Or okay, we'll replace, and then I just make a middle note. But what I've learned over the years is wherever I fail in the city at for that code, I just do that in the other city too and make sure I'm okay. Or either I ask first. But most of the time I'm just gonna do it, and then that's that. So so typically for Section 8, right, it's a household with an income below 50% of the area median income. So applicants must have less than $105,574 in assets and meet whatever background screening. So I'm sure they got to do felony checks and so forth, right? Um, Detroit has a wait list. How long it is, I don't know, but I'm sure it's pretty long. Most people in Detroit require, I would think, can apply for Section 8. Now, if they own their own house, maybe not, because this is from a rental standpoint, because it got to be combined assets. I don't know if that includes your property that you live in and a car. I'm not really sure, because I just know on the investment side. I know they do background checks, criminal histories, of course. I don't think you can have no eviction if it's drug related. I'm not sure if you can have an eviction in general. So I'm gonna see if I can find somebody who works for Section 8 that can come on here and answer stuff, or that I can ask and then I can answer for y'all, because I really don't know. So we're gonna click on this certificate of compliance for landlord. So of course, once you get your property ready, get it ready for Section 8, right? They're gonna come out and inspect it. You get 3 times to pass or fail. After the third time, if you fail, you have to start the process over, and I think you have to wait a year before you can put that property back up for Section 8. Now, I'm not sure if that's only for whatever city that's for. So if this is for the city of Detroit and you fail in Detroit, if that house can be re-registered under another city, that part I'm not sure. But I do know if it fails 3 times, you have to wait an entire year before it can get re-inspected again under the program. So either that tenant will have to go find another place to rent, or I guess you and them can work out a deal to where they pay you so much money. But of course, whatever your rent truly is, they more than likely can't afford it on their own, hence why they are on Section 8. Now, I've based my Section 8 rental properties off of, rental properties in general, off whatever the median is in the market or whatever that person's voucher is. So if I'm asking $2,000 a month for rent and your voucher is $1,800, I'm really not tripping on $200. I'm more than likely going to still take the $1,800, especially if Section 8 is paying all of the Section 8 $1,800. Now, in the $1,800 rent, if you are paying more than $300, gonna be a little skeptic, because you're gonna want, or at least I prefer the ones that pay all. Now, of course, you can't deny nobody because that's illegal. HUD rules and stuff like that, Mr. Rules and stuff. But that's kind of what I do. Normally, I'd be like, if they like the house, I'd be like, hey, how much your voucher is? 18. I'm like, well, the rent 2,000, and then me and that Section 8 officer or their social worker, we'll go back and forth, and they'll tell me, okay, this is the max we can pay. This is their portion, and then you as a landlord, you have to pay one utility. So don't forget that. I always pay water because water is typically going to be the cheapest bill. So remember that. Water is going to always be cheaper. If it's a multifamily property or duplex, 2 or more, I believe that's going to be all one water bill. And then you just got to, I guess, divide by 2. But if you paying it all, it don't matter. Because if you're not, that's going to be an issue, because the downstairs tenant might be like, I don't use that much water. That's them upstairs always running the water while they brush their teeth, blah, they sleep. So it's best you just pay it and make sure you got enough in the rent to cover the water. And then, of course, whatever other bills you got to pay, like your insurance for the property. If you doing the lawn maintenance or they are, make sure that's put in the lease and that you are covered and that you still net whatever your profit is that month. What else? just the landlord requirements. Let me share this tab. So of course you got to get your property, regardless if it's Section 8 or not, inspected by the city of Detroit and register it. That is a fee, of course. You're going to sign up, walk through these steps or whatever, go through the portal, upload your deed. You got to show that you own the property. I think you got to upload the deed, your operating agreement. I forgot what else. There's a bunch of stuff you have to upload. I go through this in detail in my course, by the way. But you're going to upload all that stuff in the rental portal. Then eventually somebody from the city is going to reach out to you to schedule a inspection. And then they're going to come out, tell you if you pass or fail. I think you get up to 2 times with them before you have to pay another fee for them to come re-inspect. Then you get your City of Detroit registration for a rental compliance notice, and you good to go to rent to anybody in Detroit. They are enforcing this. They've been enforcing it for the last couple of years. So there are unfortunately a lot of landlords who don't do this. Now, the people who don't register their property as a rental, this will come back to bite you in the behind if you end up having to evict that tenant and then you go to court. They're gonna want to see that registration. That has helped me in a few evictions that I've had to manage for my clients because I registered the property. Because the tenant saying one thing, the property a hellhole, the water don't work, blah blah blah. If the water don't work, why am I still getting charged city and sewer? If the water don't work, how are you using the bathroom? You telling me you just in there not using the bathroom, not showering? I just don't believe that. This could be Section 8 or a regular tenant. That register rental property registration and compliance letter is going to help you in court, because unfortunately in 36th District Court downtown Detroit, all landlords are slumlords until proven otherwise, because it has been that bad in Detroit. Like, it just has been. Trying to see what else. So you get your compliance letter, you can rent, good to go. I know it's a hassle. You got to make sure ain't no lead. Sometimes they might want you to do a lead assessment. Now that can get costly. That can be $500 plus. But the way you kind of not get around it, just make sure ain't no peeling paint, ain't no paint chips on the floor inside or outside the house. If it's a house that has like painted wood or a garage with painted wood, if they see any paint chips, oh my God, it's lead. It might not even be paint chips, but if anything resemble paint chips, look like paint chips, they think it's paint chips, oh my God, it's lead. How you get around that? Make sure you go and check your property inside and out, clean and Swiffer it real good before they come inspect it. Like, I always do a final clean. I do a final walk around outside. What else we do outside? We build the dirt up to make sure when the water hit the house, it can flow away from the house, because you don't want water getting in your basement. That's how a lot of water starts to come in basements here in Detroit, because they don't have they don't backfill behind their properties, like either on the side, anywhere around the foundation. You need to put some mounds of dirt up and pack it in there pretty good. Now you can also put mulch on top of said dirt, and then they won't test it if you're doing a lead test, because you'll definitely be able to see if there's any moss right there. Soil, they're more likely going to test. So just put some mulch on top and you Gucci. So now I can answer some questions. Wait, I think anything else I wanted to say about this Section 8 thing, register. Oh, the receipt. So when you get done and you pass everything, they're going to send you a PDF of your rental registration. You should be able to download it in the portal, but they're going to email it to you too. And I think they mail you one too. All right. Let's see. All right. How is the housing market in Detroit? I think it's fantastic. The weather about to break soon. Hopefully it's almost spring. If y'all did not know, I think the time go up Sunday. I'm kind of upset about that because I don't like losing my hour, because sleep is fantastic. But I think it's great. This summer is going to be very interesting. I've been seeing a lot of videos of people who are nowhere near Detroit, from Detroit or the state of Michigan or even America, buying properties here. They rent them out Section 8, 80,000 plus, putting 50 to 100,000 in them and renting them out. So the people who are from Detroit, I highly suggest that you buy you a property, like I've been screaming y'all for the last 10 years. Y'all keep complaining that rent is high in the city. You ain't seen none yet. It's going to keep going up. Where can you find your deed if your house is paid off? You can go to the Register of Deeds downtown Wayne County. You do have to make an appointment now. I'll pull that up. You used to be able to just go in there, but now you gotta make an appointment before you can go in there, and you can put in there. I think they had like a questionnaire. Wayne County Register of Deeds. Nope, I did not find what I was looking for on this page. Oh, there we go. So you can go, yeah, Wayne County Register of Deeds is what's the name of that building? Something Monroe Street, but it's in the middle of Greektown. So Greektown is toe up from the floor right now because they're doing all that reconstruction over there. So you got to park on either whatever available side street or in that parking lot across the street, and then walk over. But it's next to what's the New Orleans place down there? New Orleans style restaurant. Flubber, because it's the burgers. I can't think of it, but it's that. What's the name of that restaurant? Somebody in the comments, Fishbones. Thank you. I'm like, somebody in the comments from Detroit, Fishbones. So it's next to Fishbones. Fishbones is down there. Five Guys is in that same building. So you're going to go there, I believe, to either the 5th or the 7th floor. And then you can request a copy. You can have them do a search. Yeah, here you go. Search and copy request. You can do it you can do it online at WayneCountyLandRecords.com. You can do it at the kiosk from 8 to 3 p.m. You can do a search by mail request. This is only for records prior to 1960. You can also pay a title company to do it. That'll probably be your best bet, because they're going to give you the entire package, because the city, I think they're only going to give you so much. Yep, 400 Monroe, 7th floor. I knew it was 5th or the 7th. So the search fee for a property is $5. Oh, they waive the fee if you are searching for your personal residence. So in your case, sir or ma'am, if you live there, you need to bring your valid driver's license, and it's free for them to search, and then each copy is $2. If you need a certification, that's $10 per document. So I don't know if they mean per page of said document or per document in total if it's a bunch of pages. So you got to ask that. Veterans and current military personnel, they can receive a search of their own real estate property and document copies of the same at no charge when they show their military card or their veteran card. So that's good to know. Now, if you can search, your search can be completed by mailing us a brief detailed description of what you are searching for. The search by mail fee is $15 per address. Copies are $2. Certifications are $10. Checks payable to Wayne County Register of Deeds. Yeah, by the time you do all that, you could just go downtown, because parking gonna cost you $15. You might as well just go down there and get it and be out of there in an hour. But you do, yeah, I think you got to make an appointment when you go down there. I noticed that when I had to go renew some liens earlier this year. I'm like, okay, you got to do appointments. Let me see any more questions. Oh, girl. Oh, thank you. I answered that. Is Detroit below sea level or above? We don't have a sea. That's a river, a pass-through river. I forgot. They said something about our current is so high or something like that. That's why we don't really have any bad water here. That's why our water is pretty pure. But I don't think it's not a sea, it's a river. But I'm about to look it up because I want to know. I'm gonna say no. Yeah, no, Detroit is not below sea level. I was about to say because it's a river. While the city is located along the Detroit River and is relatively flat, its high elevation means it's not a risk from rising sea levels like coastal cities. Yeah, I kind of figured that. We have a high elevation. So that answered your question. Facts. Yeah, you definitely got to make an appointment, because old man up there is a man and a lady. He going to be up there with his glasses on, and he got a little clipboard. And if you ain't on that list, sorry, I can't help you. But I wasn't on the list one time, and they did help me. So I guess it depends on their mood and how nice you are as well. So that matters. To clarify, if I add mulch on top of the soil next to my painted house, they won't test for lead. That's what I was told. I actually have to take my lead license renewal class tomorrow, so I believe so. That's what I was told years ago when I got mine. So we gonna see, because I got to renew my class and my license by the end of the month. So I gotta get to studying. Does Detroit pay personal property taxes? Do you mean Detroiters or the business? Businesses, I believe so, because I got a notice in the mail about personal property taxes. But I'm like, I have my office is inside of a co-working space, so I'm kind of fighting that right now. So we about to see. Personal. Yep. Starting in December 2004, the city of Detroit Treasurer began collecting all real and personal taxes for properties located in Detroit. So to answer your question, yep. All right, next question. Is buying a house off land bank difficult process worthwhile? It's not hard. I mean, to buy off the land bank is really not. You just got to know where you're buying in the neighborhood. If you can, if you don't live here, try to come and see it, because you don't want to buy a house that has water sitting in the basement. I've seen clients do that. They didn't pay me to look at it, or insert person here. And the basement, especially in the dead of winter, was a sheet of ice. So we had to wait till that melted. And that was a whole lot of fun. But I'm about to pull up their website. Building. I've personally never bought from the land bank, ever. I've rehabbed a lot of their properties, but I've never bought from them. The auction, I think they do auctions every single day. Yeah, like this one starts on the 5th, this one starts on the 9th, this one starts on the 11th. I personally think everything that's left in the auction now is crap, unless you buy some land. It can be worthwhile if you know where you're buying and if you know what you're putting in there. I personally do not recommend purchasing a Detroit land bank house if it is your first investment property. If it's your first investment, if it's your first flip, I don't personally recommend it, because man, these houses are crap that's left and they need a whole lot of work, like whole lot. Your minimum rehab for a land bank house is gonna be no less than 150. Do you have a general contractor license? Yes, I do. I've been licensed since August 2012. On a house, I don't know what you mean. And it's a continuous flow of water. Oh, the river. Facts. That, like, I don't know if y'all saw a couple weeks ago when it was really, really cold. Some lady walked over here on the river. Like, she literally walked over here from Canada. It's crazy, but it was that freaking cold. She's brave, because any point you can hit a low spot, you're gone. But they end up, I think they arrested her. Yeah, I think she got arrested for that. Because that is illegal, because you walking from another country to another country. So you can't do that. The U.S. Coast Guard is definitely out there. And I don't know if y'all ever seen them in the winter when they be out there on those big old boats or ships or whatever. And they got this big stupid blade and they cutting up the river. So one, they can prevent people from doing that. Yeah, we have a rough current. Fish bones, yes, thank you. Where's the best place to get a property in Wayne County? Detroit. Unless you mean a website, I mean, you can buy on Zillow, directly from a wholesaler, Facebook Marketplace. Yes, this is live. Let me see any more questions. This was a pretty dope live. So I hope I answered some of y'all questions. As far as tariffs go, Section 8. Section 8 overall is fantastic. I love the program. All right, that's all over there. How can I get my GC license? If you're in Michigan, I have a whole video on my YouTube channel, Denson Construction Services, how to get licensed in Michigan. And I go through the whole thing. Now, mind you, I got licensed in 2012. So this is based off my experience. Anything else, Google is your friend. Can you refer a school for the GC course that really prepares students? So I went to this spot. If you go watch that video, I think I link it in there. It was in Livonia. They have different places all over the state, But my teacher, his name was a man named Sid. Like he was actually in construction, like had a business for decades. Like it was a really dope program. I recommend that you do in person, don't do online, because it's better. Like certain stuff is just better than online. You can get your questions answered directly. It's more intimate, more personal, and then you get to network with other people that's in there too. So, but yeah, that they really prepared me. But you got to prepare yourself at the end of the day. They only can do so much. You got to really study. Like it took me, I don't know if y'all, the people who knew here, it took me 5 times to pass my GC test, and I'm a pretty smart person, but that test was hard. And the part I only kept failing was the concrete part. Everything else I was acing with no problem. It was the concrete part, and I kept messing up on that part because I'm a heavy highway engineer at this point. So I'm out here inspecting highways, bridges, and handicap ramp. That was my special. So every question I'm answering it pertaining to I'm doing the Lodge Freeway. I'm doing Davidson. I'm doing 8 Mile. I'm doing all the handicaps on 8 Mile because this is what I was doing at that time. I'm doing the bridges over 96 by Livernois in Chicago. So I'm answering those questions based off that and not based off a house. So on the fifth test, it finally clicked. Girl, they talking about a house. And I passed. Simple. It's Cloverline and Grand River 48204 area. Yeah, that's by the Greenway. Maybe not Grand River part, but Cloverline in Chicago is by the Greenway. Grand River, I'm not sure. I would have to pull the map up. What else? Somebody want to go live with me? No. I have a house in Wayne County that needs rehab. Are you taking new clients? Where in Wayne County? Wayne County is big. It's not just Detroit. If it's an investor house, yes, I'm taking new clients. Homeowners, I'm not. Because these programs I'm working with, that's the only way I'm still working with homeowners. Now, if it's a homeowner insurance job and it's a big enough job, I'll do it. But if you're interested in me looking at it, just send me a DM or you can schedule an estimate on my website whenever you're ready because I don't do free estimates. You're welcome. I don't see no comments on the or no questions over here. But yeah, that's kind of like my summary. So do I got any church announcements? I forgot that. Next month, we are starting Real Estate Fridays back up. The fourth Friday, I got to get a flyer made and post that. But that will be on April 24th from 7 to 9:30. We normally start at 7:30. So we're going to say 7:30 to 9:30. I don't know what the topic going to be. If y'all want me to talk about something specifically, let me know. Send me a DM. I'm going to make a post too, like what y'all want me to talk about. I'm trying to make the schedule for April to September. So I need some topics. One of the but this summer though, one of the meetups we're gonna do on the Greenway. Cause I think people who from Detroit really don't understand what's going on here. And I think if they see it in person, maybe it'll make more sense. Like we'll just do a meetup where we walk in and we all come look at it or something. And I'll see if I can get some people from the Greenway board or commission or whatever it's called to come out too. But if not, we just gonna make it do what it do. So that's gonna be one of the topics. I'm gonna always do a wholesaling one. I'm gonna always do a Wayne County tax auction one. That's always a good one. That one will probably be in August. I just gotta get with Reg because he always teaches it. I'm gonna see if I can get a real estate attorney to come talk about evictions. My former real estate attorney is now a judge, so can't have him do it. But yeah, I can reach out to him and see if he can recommend somebody. Trying to see. We did lenders last year. We did that one. What else we did? The land bank one was crazy. I think we had like 300 plus people there. I'm gonna reach out to them again and see if they want to do another one. Maybe we'll jump that one off for April. May we not gonna have one because that fourth Friday falls on Memorial Day weekend, and I already know the turnout not gonna be that good. So it'll be April, June, July, August, September. So that's going to be the topic. And we'll probably do the container home again. So I need like 4 good topics. So I'm going to work on that schedule after I get through this test. I got 2 tests I got to take this month. So, yeah. But if y'all got no more questions, comments, or concerns for me, I'm going to blow this popsicle stand because I've been up here all day. Like I had a job. But I got a lot done, though. So it was dope. But thank y'all for tuning in. For those who sent donations, I appreciate you. The good Lord is going to bless you today and tomorrow. My next live will be, if y'all been following with Daphne, she sent me her homework, so we gonna go over it live on air on the 14th. It's gonna be early in the day. It's gonna be around noon, and we're gonna go over her homework, see where she at, my mentee, and get her together. So that'll be the next live, and then it's another one after that later in the month on the actual What Up Though Friday on the 20th. So I think that's it. But thank y'all for tuning in. I'm about to blow this popsicle stand. Y'all have a great day and be safe. Deuces. And stream.